Discover the incredible moment when I walked out of my brother's wedding and exposed hidden joys. Jamie stood in front of the mirror, the shimmering fabric of her bridesmaid gown reflecting the dreams she'd set aside. Her fingers trembled as they traced the seam. This was Kyle's big day, a celebration meant for grandeur, love, and cherished family traditions. But all she felt was the weight of the world pressing down on her chest. Glancing at her reflection, she fought back tears as vivid images of her mother flooded her mind. Her heart ached as she thought about the sacrifices she'd made to care for her siblings, Lily and Max. Somewhere deep down, she wished for her own life, one filled with college lectures and late-night adventures. Not the hum of coffee machines in the diner, the chapel filled with laughter and chatter. Jamie moved through the crowd like a ghost. Guests flaunted their designer dresses and expensive shoes, discussing lavish gifts and extravagant honeymoon plans with ease. Meanwhile, Jamie clutched a bouquet like it was a lifeline. Just hours ago, she served milkshakes and eggs over easy to customers at the diner, a world so distant from this opulent occasion. Her stomach twisted with envy. It wasn't just her brother marrying a rich girl. It felt like they were marrying a different world. A world that had little place for families like hers. "Did you hear about her family's estate?" one woman whispered, her voice dripping with condescension. Jamie's chest tightened, the words slicing into her spirit. The glares and judgment dug in like knives. Was wealth the only thing that mattered? Resentment bubbled inside her, the pressure rising. She inhaled sharply, pushing down the shame of simply being who she was. Before she realized what she was doing, Jamie stepped forward, her heart racing. "Excuse me," she shouted, her voice cutting through the murmur. The guests froze, cocktail glasses poised midair. What's wrong with being from a family that might not have money, but has heart? This isn't just about wealth. It's about love and family. Silence echoed. The words hung heavy in the air, a challenge thrown at the group gathered in their finery. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Outside, the air snapped against her skin as she stood alone. Her heart pounded, tears threatening to spill. This was the first time in years she'd spoken her truth. Suddenly, the doors swung open, and the guests poured outside, their expressions a mixture of shock and contemplation. Conversations thrummed at a new frequency, voices raised in protest and agreement. Jamie felt raw and exposed, messy emotions swirling inside her. But as they grappled with their assumptions about her family, Jamie found something unexpected: voices of solidarity. Someone clapped, and slowly others joined. The shift was palpable. Light pierced through the heavy fog of elitism. Just then, a familiar face approached. It was Ethan, a childhood friend who had once kissed her under the stars in their old neighborhood. But something in his eyes held profound sorrow and understanding. "You shouldn't have to hide who you are," he said gently, stepping forward as if bridging the divide she felt so deeply that as the night wore on, secrets began to unravel, revealing threads that connected them all in unexpected ways. But just as Jamie began to grasp this newfound acceptance, a revelation threatened to upend everything she thought she knew about loyalty and love. What did it truly mean to find happiness when surrounded by the shadows of wealth and expectation? Would Jamie reclaim her voice before it slipped away again? The questions simmered in the air, leaving her with one compelling thought: maybe the path to her truth was just beginning. Jamie stood on the edge of the crowd, her heart still racing from the adrenaline of her outburst. She felt lighter, yet that weight of expectation loomed over her like a dark cloud. The clapping had faded, but the eyes of the guests remained fixed on her, some filled with shock, others with admiration. It was overwhelming, but a sliver of pride pierced through the confusion. Ethan watched her, and in that moment, It felt as if they were the only two people in the world. Guilt washed over her when she remembered how she had left him standing by the chapel, just moments before. "I didn't mean to make a scene," she said softly, her voice barely lifting above the hush of the guests. He stepped closer, the warmth radiating off him, reassuring her. "You did something brave, Jamie," he replied, his gaze steady, sparking something ancient and familiar inside her. She felt the corners of her heart tug, as memories of carefree summers filled with laughter and shared dreams resurfaced. In a world suffocated with glitter and glamour, Ethan's simple presence reminded her what she had almost forgotten: her own worth. That moment, Lily and Max broke through the throng, wide-eyed and bewildered. Max, shuffling his feet, broke the tension with a smile. "Did you just stand up to those fancy people?" he asked, a hint of awe in his voice. Jamie's heart swelled with warmth, and she knelt down to his level, brushing his hair back. "I just said what I felt, you know? It's important to stand up for who you are." Lily, unfazed by the scene, beamed with admiration. "You were amazing. Can we go tell them again?" she chirped, glancing back at the gathering. Laughter bubbled between the siblings, uniting them in this unexpected moment of rebellion against the norms they had often felt trapped by. But as the laughter faded, Jamie's stomach twisted again at the thought of Kyle and his new bride. What they must think of her outburst. What would her brother say? Would he still love her after she had shaken the foundations of what he believed was the ideal wedding? As her thoughts spiraled, Ethan placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "You did not ruin anything. You showed everyone that love is about being real." His voice cut through her doubts like a lifeline thrown to a drowning swimmer. She took a deep breath. The evening was shifting, and beneath the layers of silk and glamour, something raw and unfiltered lay beneath, waiting to be uncovered. Decisions no longer felt so black and white. Whether her family had wealth or not didn't dilute the love they shared. It was in the messy, imperfect moments just like this. "Jamie, I've seen you care for everyone but yourself," Ethan said, concern painting his features. "What do you want?" The question hung in the air like an unlit lantern. She realized she hadn't asked herself that in a long time. Slowly, a gentle flame sparked in her heart. "I just want to be me," she confessed quietly, her breath hitching as relief swept through her. Her true self was buried beneath obligations and family loyalty, and it felt both terrifying and exhilarating to finally speak it. Yet, even as she found clarity, she sensed a shift in the audience. Whispers morphed into murmurs, and the remaining guests began to close in on her. Questions flickered in 1,000 gazes, some hopeful, others judgmental. She wrestled with way too many emotions. A mix of empathy and bitterness surged within her. "Can you help me figure this out?" she asked Ethan, desperate for his support as he nodded, eyes filled with determination. Just then, in the distance, she spotted Zoe, Kyle's bride, flanked by her family. The cold glint in Zoe's eyes froze Jamie momentarily. A little piece of her felt like she was about to face the storm. It was now or never. Would Jamie stand firm against the rising tide of the elite to protect what she valued most, her family and herself? Would she have the courage to confront everything she had let define her? The answer loomed just ahead, echoing with every heartbeat. Jamie stood frozen for a heartbeat, her mind a whirlwind. Zoe's gaze pierced through the crowd, a storm of disdain wrapped in a veil of silk. It felt like the world narrowed down to that single moment. Her heart raced not just from fear but from that flicker of determination that had been ignited within her. Ethan, sensing her hesitation, leaned closer. "You've already taken the first step. Just keep walking," he encouraged, his voice steadying her racing thoughts. With a deep breath, she let go of the past that chained her. Taking a cautious step forward, Jamie felt the eyes of the crowd shift, like a wave breaking. Murmurs intensified, confused looks unfurling in every direction. "What is she doing?" whispered one guest, while another gasped, "Is she really going to confront her?" But beneath the surface chatter, Jamie heard her own voice rising, quieter than before, but stronger in conviction. She approached Zoe. Her shoulders squared and her chin held high. She felt small yet powerful. "Zoe," she said, her voice cutting through the buzz like a knife. The crowd fell silent, all eyes narrowing in anticipation. Zoe raised an eyebrow, a smirk curling the corner of her mouth. "Oh, Jamie, this is a wedding, not a rally. Why don't you just let it go? Because it matters." Jamie shot back, surprising herself with the force behind her own words. "It matters how we show love without pretense. You stand there, pretending everyone has to fit a mold, but love is messy, imperfect. It's not about status. It's about truth." Each word seemed to carve away years of silence and submission. Ethan lingered nearby, a safe warmth that calmed the adrenaline rush coursing through her veins. He believed her. For the first time, she felt seen and heard by him, by her siblings, and even by herself. Zoe's expression hardened, her jaw tightening. "You don't get it, do you? This is about family and tradition. Family is more than just traditions or wealth. It's about being there for each other," Jamie declared, her heart thumping loud enough for everyone to hear. The crowd shifted, some nodded in agreement. Others merely gaped in confusion. "Yes, right," Lily cried out, stepping next to Jamie, her small fists clenched, filled with the boldness of loyalty only a sibling could muster. Max trailed behind, his young face shining with unspeakable pride. "Yeah," Max echoed, inching forward too. "You can't just tell someone who to love." The growing momentum of her siblings boosted Jamie's courage. For the first time in ages, she felt like she was reclaiming her voice. The weight of expectations no longer felt suffocating. Instead, it transformed from a dark cloud into a driver of change. Zoe faltered, the confidence drained from her expression. Jamie seized the moment. "We love each other, despite the glitter and the glam. I won't let you, or anyone else, dictate how love should look. We deserve to live out loud." Instantly, the tension crackled in the air. Opinions clashed, whispers ricocheted, and the crowd divided. Some scrambled to defend Zoe, while others stood by Jamie's side, excitement bubbling at the upheaval of social norms as Jamie searched the crowd for familiar faces. She locked eyes with Ethan again. A smile lit his face, encouragement pouring from him like sunlight breaking through a cloudy sky. It was a spark, a beacon of hope. But just as the tide began to shift, Zoe's family stepped forward, a wall of disapproval enveloping her. "You need to think about this," they declared, their voices cutting through the tension. "You don't know what you're doing." Jamie's breath hitched. Would her newfound courage withstand the onslaught? Could she protect the vision of love she had just dared to express? This was the moment of truth, and she realized the real battle was just beginning. The air was thick with anxieties, anticipation rippling through the crowd as they awaited her response. Would she retreat into conformity or stand resolute against everything she had once accepted? And as she lifted her chin, preparing to face the tidal wave of judgment, a thought pierced her heart. What if the most profound love was the kind that showed up when it mattered most, even amid chaos? What would she choose next? Jamie stood there, heart pounding, as the crowd's whispers echoed in her ears. The air felt electric, charged with uncertainty and tension. She glanced at Ethan, whose encouraging smile sparked a flicker of hope within her. She could feel the warmth of her siblings beside her, lending her strength. But could it be enough? Zoe's family pressed closer, their expressions twisted in disbelief. "You have no idea what you're ruining," one of them shouted. "This is supposed to be a joyful occasion. Joy shouldn't be built on silencing truth," Jamie replied, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her. With every word, she felt the weight of her own history swirling around her, intertwined with fears of not being good enough for her family, for Zoe, for herself. Yet here she was, standing defiantly in what felt like the eye of the storm. "Who are you to say what love looks like?" Zoe shot back, chin raised, her composure cracking just slightly. "You're not a part of our world." Jamie recognized the bitterness in Zoe's voice, the need to defend layers upon layers of expectation that felt like a prison. "And I'm not saying that I don't belong," she shot back, feeling the reassurance from her siblings permeating through her. I'm saying that love is bigger than titles and wealth. It's not bound by appearances. The crowd began to stir. Some looked to each other as if searching for affirmation. Lily and Max shuffled closer to Jamie, their small embrace a protective shield. In that moment, Jamie found her footing. It was growing stronger, and she leaned into it. "You're right, Zoe," she said, quieting her voice but making it no less potent. "Love is messy. It's raw and it's beautiful. You've taught me so much about what a facade looks like, one that hides who we really are. It's exhausting to keep up with." "Insolent," someone from Zoe's side yelled, but Jamie pressed on. "I won't let love be defined by applause or invitation lists." She spoke louder now, hands shaking but steady. "Love exists beyond what we've been taught or what's expected of us. It thrives in honesty, in being there for one another when it truly matters." Ethan stepped slightly closer, his presence anchoring her resolve. "What she says is true," he called out. "We all deserve a chance to love openly, joyfully, without fear of judgment." A ripple of murmurs spread through the gathering like wildfire, some embracing the spontaneity while others recoiled. The divided crowd faced a reckoning. Jamie felt her heart soar as she glanced at Zoe, once again a formidable figure. Yet Jamie caught a glimpse of uncertainty flicker in Zoe's eyes. "I know you're scared," Jamie pressed on, "but love does not demand perfection. It just asks that we be ourselves." "Stop this." Zoe's voice quivered slightly, an edge of vulnerability creeping in. "You don't know how this changes everything." "It changes nothing if you let it," Jamie replied softly. "But if you let it, maybe it can change everything for the better. This isn't just about you and me. It's about all of us learning to love in ways we thought were impossible." At that moment, Jamie felt that the air shifted, filled not with despair, but with threads of possibility. She opened her arms wide as if inviting the crowd, and perhaps Zoe as well, into this newfound truth. "Imagine with me. Let us embrace a love that welcomes the unpredictable, the honest, the beautiful." The murmurs grew louder, fluctuating like the waves of an ocean. Some hearts had begun to soften. But before she could dive deeper, Zoe's family pressed forward, their displeasure palpable, demanding answers, demanding compliance. And with that wave of resistance, Jamie felt her pulse race again, a mixture of hope and apprehension. The moment felt fragile, teetering on the brink. What could be unleashed now? Could she hold her ground, or would she falter before the onslaught of judgment? As Jamie looked at her siblings, she knew she couldn't retreat. Not now. Not ever again. Could she rally enough courage to stand firm against Zoe's family? Would her words break through the walls that had kept them all bound for so long? In that charged silence, Jamie realized that the future was uncertain, but the potential for love was infinite. What would that love dare to reveal next? The tension hung heavily in the air as Jamie sensed the eyes of Zoe's family narrowing. They were coiled tight, every whisper drumming with disbelief and anger. Yet, in the eye of this whirlwind, Jamie felt an unfamiliar strength bubbling inside her, urging her to push forward. "Enough!" Zoe's father bellowed, his face as red as the rose in his jacket lapel. "You think you can just come here and disrupt this? This is our family's moment. Is it really, though?" Jamie countered, her voice rising, laced with a challenge. "Is it a moment of love? Or is it just a display? What is love if it's wrapped in chains of fear?" The crowd shifted in confusion, glancing at one another, some folding their arms, others looking disinterested. Jamie's heart raced as she caught Zoe's gaze. Standing there, frozen between her family's expectations and Jamie's call to authenticity, the battle within Zoe was palpable. I have to," Zoe started, her voice trembling, but the words seemed lost. She turned away, her shoulders tightening as she faced the murmuring crowd. Jamie could see the inner conflict swirling destructively behind her formerly composed facade. "Zoe," Jamie called out, desperation crawling into her voice. "You don't have to choose what they want. Choose what you want." "But what if I don't know what that is?" Zoe shot back, her vulnerability like glass shattering around them. "What if I lose everything?" "Sometimes," Losing what holds you back opens the door to what sets you free, Jamie said softly. She stepped forward, feeling the energy ebb and flow between them, the crowd pressing closer, leaning in to listen. I know you're scared, but like I said, love isn't perfect. It's real. And choosing that can change more than either of us can imagine. Zoe's expression softened, her frustration beginning to crack. The crowd held its collective breath, caught in the tension of a single moment that threatened to alter all their lives. Do you really think we can have that together? Zoe's voice wavered, fragile yet hopeful. Jamie nodded, tears prickling in her eyes. We can't just protect an image. We have to live it. If love is chaos, if it's clumsy, then let us embrace that. Her heart urged her forward, fiercer than the crowd's uncertainty. What's the point of pretending? You showed me the truth, let us not go back into hiding. The murmurs of the crowd shifted to hushed excitement, questions floating on the air. Some could feel the shift, the hope piercing through uncertainty, while others remained rigid, unsure how to respond. Your family needs to see you for who you are, Zoe, not just the perfect daughter they demand. Jamie implored. Let them see the real you, the authentic you. As the words left her mouth, Jamie felt the fragile hope in the air pulse with anticipation. Would Zoe step beyond the confines of expectation? Would this be the moment of revelation they all needed? Zoe hesitated, glancing toward her parents, then back at Jamie, the choices swirling in her mind like autumn leaves caught in a whirlwind. The crowd's anxiety was palpable, as eyes flitted back and forth between them. And then, finally, with a deep breath, a flicker of resolve ignited in Zoe's eyes. You're right, she said softly, grounding herself in the truth she had kept buried for so long. I'm tired of pretending. The moment hung, as if time itself paused to absorb those words, the weight of possibility cascading through the air. But just as the optimism teetered on the brink of honest connection, Zoe's mother stepped forward with a fierce glare that cut through the moment. You think this is acceptable? You're ruining everything. As the anger erupted like a volcano, Jamie's heart raced again. The warmth she felt from Zoe faltered under the weight of the words. Would they now drown out everything she had fought for? In that instant, Jamie braced herself for another wave of confrontation. She could feel her resolve harden, ready to meet whatever came next with open arms. In a restless sea of emotions, what would emerge as the truth of their journey? The harshness of Zoe's mother's voice sliced through the air, and Jamie's stomach twisted. She took a step back, feeling exposed before the crowd like a raw nerve. The tension snapped into silence, leaving her breathless as every pair of eyes turned toward Zoe, waiting for her response. But Zoe stood still, her hands trembling by her sides, caught between Jamie's call to freedom and her mother's fiery disapproval. The moment was like standing on a precipice, the wind swirling all around them, ready to catch or cast them down. Do you care more about your image than about your own daughter? Jamie almost whispered, but the force of her words filled the space. Zoe deserves to live her truth. We all do. Zoe's mother's face turned an even deeper shade of crimson. I didn't raise you to throw away everything we built, Zoe. This is about family, about what's right. You can't just walk away from your responsibilities. Chins lifted in the crowd, and murmurs of agreement rippled out like waves. Jamie felt the solidarity of a few who were silently rooting for Zoe, but it was overshadowed by the fierce loyalty of Zoe's parents who felt their entire world was crumbling. Responsibilities? Zoe replied, finally finding her voice, strong yet vulnerable. Is it responsible to stifle my feelings? To suffocate in a world of expectations that aren't really mine? The words flowed out of her, raw and real. I want to be honest with myself. Not just the perfect daughter you wanted. Jamie's heart soared at Zoe's courage, but just as quickly, she felt the weight of all the doubts crashing around them. Would this one moment of bravery be enough to break the chains? Zoe, honey, please, her mother's voice cracked, the vulnerability showing beneath layers of anger. What will people think? This is not how things are done. The room buzzed with the gathered opinions, a storm of conflicting emotions. Who were these people to judge who Zoe was or wasn't he? Jamie clenched her fists, her heart racing at the thought of this moment slipping away. Let them think what they want. What's more important, what they think or who you truly are? Jamie challenged, courage propelling her forward. You only have one life, Zoe. Don't let fear write your story for you. Zoe stood taller, the fight lighting her eyes. She took a hesitant step towards Jamie, her connection grounding them together in a newfound purpose. I want to be free. But as she turned to face her parents, the hope in Jamie's chest felt frail. I'm not the perfect daughter. I never will be. And if my happiness costs family, then what? You'd abandon us? We've given up so much for you. Zoe's father raged, the pain evident in each word. I don't want you to give anything else up for me, Zoe replied, tears glistening. I just want to be me. The words hung between them, heavy like a storm cloud full of rain, yet filled with an energy that could break free if only they would let it. Jamie could see the delicate threads of transformation weaving through the air. Zoe was learning to embrace herself, a spark igniting in the face of fear. But with that spark came the realization that the battle wasn't over. For every step Zoe took toward freedom, she faced a wall of history and expectation. Would her family accept this new light, or would they fight against the change? As Jamie waited for the moment to unfold, a dangerous quiet filled the room, the kind that swelled before an explosion. The eyes of the crowd shifted, anticipation burning. What would Zoe choose now? Would she embrace her truth and risk everything? And then, just as Zoe's shoulders squared in determination, a crack echoed in the silence, sending hearts racing in unison. Zoe! A voice cried out from the back, piercing through the tension, shattering their moment of resolve. Jamie's stomach dropped. Who was it? What had just been unleashed? Zoe swung around, eyes wide, searching for the source of the voice that had broken through the stillness. Who said that? She demanded, her pulse quickening. The crowd shifted, parting like waves to reveal a familiar figure stepping forward, face flushed with urgency. Rachel? Zoe gasped, disbelief etched across her features. Rachel, Zoe's older sister, stood there, her brow furrowed, chest rising and falling in quick, frantic breaths. Zoe, wait! You don't have to do this alone. Her voice, typically soothing, now trembled with an emotion so raw it echoed in the room. Jamie felt a new surge of hope but also confusion. Zoe's gaze darted between her sister and her parents, whose expressions were masks of shock, blending indignation and concern. What are you talking about? Zoe asked, her heart racing. Why are you here? I'm here to stand with you, Rachel said, stepping forward until she was just inches away. I've been silent for too long, but not anymore. You deserve to be who you are, without the fear of disappointing anyone. I know that now. What are you doing, Rachel? Zoe's mother interjected, her voice dripping with disbelief. You're supposed to be on our side. This is not the time for rebellion. Mom, it's exactly the time for rebellion. Rachel shot back, her eyes blazing with a mix of bravery and defiance. Look at what you're asking Zoe to do. You're asking her to sacrifice her identity for the sake of tradition. And I can't support that anymore. The room seemed to shrink, the air thick with realization. Jamie watched as Rachel's words settled in, like stones dropped in still water, rippling outward and forcing everyone to confront the truth of the situation. I wish I had had the courage to speak up sooner, Rachel confessed, her voice cracking. I've lived with the same fear, Mom. I've hidden behind your expectations, and it's suffocating. It's killing us to pretend. Rachel. Zoe's voice softened. The walls around her heart shuddered at her sister's bravery. She could feel the pushing and pulling, the love and the hurt that intertwined their family history. Rachel continued, her gaze unwavering. You taught me to be strong, but that strength must mean being true to who we are. I want you to know that you're never alone, Zoe. I'm here. I always will be. A mix of emotions unfurled in Zoe's chest, relief, gratitude, and a hint of lingering fear about what this would mean. Could her sister really stand beside her amidst the chaos? But just as the words hung in the air, Zoe's mother took a step back, eyes narrowing into slits of disappointment. You think this kind of rebellion is brave, Rachel? You're both abandoning what we stand for. Jamie watched the gravel rattle in their family's foundation. The crowd held its breath, sensing the storm brewing, as Zoe's heart raced. Mom, Zoe called, voice nearly breaking. What about what we stand for? What about love? For a fleeting moment, the tension in the room flickered, a glimmer of understanding crossing her mother's face before it hardened again. Love should not come at a cost, Jamie whispered, the words bursting from her like a plea. She stepped forward, heart racing. Zoe deserves to be seen, to be loved for who she truly is. That's what family is all about. The crowd murmured, caught in the push and pull, a tug of war between tradition and the raw yearning for acceptance. As the gaze shifted from Zoe to her parents to Rachel, Jamie could feel emotions swirling, a cyclone ready to erupt. Would they embrace this newfound honesty? Would Zoe's parents see their daughters for who they truly were? Just then, the door swung open, and silence fell again. A figure silhouetted in the light, framed strong and imposing, someone who could tip the balance further. Why are we fighting? Came the voice, firm but questioning. What's really going on here? Zoe's heart dropped. The voice was unmistakable. Would this new arrival bring more conflict or lead to breakthroughs? Would it change the direction for better or worse? The figure stepped forward, revealing a familiar face, and Zoe felt a wave of emotions crash over her. Alex, her older brother, stood there, his presence commanding yet filled with uncertainty. He swept his gaze across the room, taking in the tension hanging in the air. Zoe, Rachel, what is happening? He asked, confusion etched across his features. Zoe's heart twisted. She had wanted to confide in Alex, but now, his very presence felt like an anchor. Rachel didn't skip a beat. We're finally having a real conversation, Alex. You need to understand what Zoe is going through. She deserves to be herself, not who our parents want her to be. What do you mean by that? Alex's brow furrowed, looking between the sisters, trying to bridge the gap between their emotions and their parents' rigid expectations. Zoe stepped forward, her breath quickening as she felt the energy of the moment heighten. I don't want to go through with the wedding they planned. I don't want to pretend to be someone I'm not. I'm tired, Alex. I'm just so tired. An uncomfortable silence fell. She could feel the crowd leaning in, eager for clarity. Their collective breaths held tight as if they all sensed the magnitude of her words. Zoe, you know how much this means to our family. Their mother interjected, her voice trembling. You're throwing away years of tradition. Is that what family means? Just following tradition? Zoe shot back, her voice firm but shaky with emotion. We're not just puppets. I can't live like that anymore. Alex looked at their mother, his expression soft and reflective. Mom, maybe we need to think about what this tradition is really about. If it means denying who we are, maybe it's time to break free. Jamie watched, her heart swelling with hope as Alex took a stand. She could feel the support enveloping Zoe, weaving a safety net that had been absent for so long. Zoe, I didn't know you were feeling this way. Alex continued, his voice softening. I wish you had told me. I would have had your back always. Tears pricked Zoe's eyes, the dam finally breaking. She stepped closer to her brother, feeling the bond they shared. I didn't want to disappoint you. I didn't want to rock the boat. You're my sister. I never want that for you, and you shouldn't have to sacrifice who you are, not for any of us. He reached out, pulling Zoe into a tight hug. Their family history was layered, filled with love, dysfunction, and unspoken feelings. From the corner of her eye, Zoe caught her mother's expression softening, uncertainty mingling with the familiar lines of her features. But our family is not just blood or tradition. Rachel spoke softly, stepping closer to the emotional crossroads. It's understanding, its support, and its love. We need to let each other in. A long moment passed as the walls between them all seemed to tremble, opening spaces for honest conversations that had never been given breath before. Zoe felt a growing certainty within, a feeling of empowerment lifting her spirit. So, if the wedding is meant to be about loyalty to tradition, Is that loyalty worth more than our happiness? The murmurs around the room grew louder, echoing Zoe's newfound clarity. She glanced around, emotions flaring with cautious hope. But just as Zoe felt the shift leaning towards liberation, her mother shook her head, voice low and resolute. This isn't just about you, Zoe. It's about our entire family. If you walk away from this, Zoe held her breath, heart pounding. Would her mother truly understand? Or was this just the beginning of a deeper rift? Suddenly, the silence shattered. Let me say something, came a new voice from the back, as the crowd turned to reveal yet another unexpected figure stepping into the light. Zoe's heart raced again. I need to speak. Who could this be? What more could possibly be revealed? The figure that stepped forward was none other than Zoe's childhood friend, Mia. Someone she thought wouldn't dare show up at a moment like this. Mia had always been bold, but the way she stood there now, shoulders back and chin up, surprised everyone. Her vibrant spirit seemed to breathe life into the charged atmosphere. Every head turned toward her, anticipation blending with confusion. Zoe felt her heart leap. Could Mia help bridge the divide? Or was this an addition to the chaos? What are you doing here, Mia? Zoe whispered, a mix of joy and worry flooding her voice. I came to support you, Zoe. But now, it feels like I'm meant to remind everyone in this room something important, Mia said, her voice steady, though the quiver of emotion was unmissable. Support me? By what? Throwing out more confrontation. Zoe's sarcasm cracked the weight of the moment. What Mia said next hit like a punch in the gut. I'm here because I've seen how hard you've fought to make your life fit into a box that was never meant for you, Mia said with fierce intensity. The truth is, you're not alone. There are so many people out there who feel suffocated by the same traditions that are stifling you right now. Zoe glanced at the crowd, noticing a few nods of recognition from faces she hadn't even realized were feeling the same way she had. They, too, stood in the shadow of expectations. Her mother's face was twisted between anger and disbelief. This isn't about being trendy, Mia. This is about family values. Family values? Mia echoed, a fire in her eyes. Then how do you explain Zoe's unhappiness? What kind of values force a child into chains made of expectations? The murmur in the audience sharpened, creating a chorus of agreement. Zoe's heart raced. Could Mia's words change everything? Was it possible that support could come not just from family, but from the very people who had felt the sting of expectations themselves? For a split second, Zoe's hope flickered like a candle in a storm. You're right, Mia, Zoe admitted, her voice cracking. I want to be happy. I want to be me. I don't want to lose everyone. I just want to find my way. Her mother's face hardened. But then there was a brief moment, just a flicker where vulnerability shone through. A glimpse of her mother's long-buried fears regarding expectations. Mia, this isn't your family drama, Zoe's mother insisted, her anger a thin veil over fear. Mia took a step closer, unfazed. But you're right, it's not just about Zoe, it's about all of us. Don't you want your daughter to be happy? To be whole? That struck a chord with everyone present. The silence that followed was heavy, charged with unuttered thoughts and long-held beliefs. Driven by sudden courage, Zoe raised her voice again. Mom, what if this is the beginning? What if we could reshape our family? Isn't that worth considering? Tears brimmed in Alex's eyes, reflecting the light of new possibilities as he took her hand. What if we just listened to each other for once? What if we opened our hearts instead of closing them? Then, just like that, a sigh of tension rippled through the crowd. The air was heavy with emotion, and Zoe felt walls slowly crumbling, even as her mother looked caught between anger and despair. But before anyone could respond, another unexpected figure emerged from the back, eyes fierce and commanding. You all have a choice to make, said Marcus, the family's forgotten uncle, a man who had quietly watched every gathering from the sidelines. And it starts here. Could Marcus be the voice that turned the tide? What was his truth? And how could it change the very fabric of their family? Marcus stepped forward, the faint echo of footsteps disrupting the tension among the crowd. His appearance was unexpected but somehow felt entirely right. He had always been the outlier, often quiet, a hidden force in the family. But everyone knew him well enough to understand how deeply he felt. Family is not about maintaining a facade, he stated, his voice firm and steady. It's about the love that holds us through the storms. You all know what I mean. This rigid adherence to expectations isn't just suffocating Zoe. It's draining the joy from each of our lives. Zoe's heart raced as a ripple of murmurs washed across the gathering. Faces turned toward Marcus, intrigued by the shift. You've watched us suppress our true selves for too long, he continued with emotion. I've let you down by remaining silent when I should have spoken up. This family has been entangled in tradition without question. But have we ever stopped to ask why? Zoe's mother opened her mouth to protest but faltered, caught off balance by Marcus's words. It was as if the room had collectively exhaled a breath it didn't realize it was holding. If we are to be a family, Marcus said, locking eyes with Zoe, we need to embrace each other as truths, not just those that fit a cookie-cutter mold. This isn't just for Zoe. This is for all of us. We each deserve the freedom to express our love in ways that are authentic and real. Zoe could hardly breathe, feeling the ground under her begin to shift. There was a newfound strength surrounding her and energy lighting the way toward something brighter. The air felt charged, vibrating with acknowledgement, openness, and courage. Zoe deserves to live fully, Marcus said, his expression sincere. We all do. What is love if not the ability to show it without restrictions, to be raw and honest? The world outside is shifting. We can be a part of that change. Zoe looked toward Ethan, who stood nearby, radiating pride and support. Then she turned to her siblings, their faces filled with boundless love and resolve. This was it. This was the moment she had fought for, the moment she had longed for, not just for herself but for her family as a whole. Mom, Zoe said, her voice trembling but unwavering. Can we really start over? Can we reconstruct what love looks like in our family on our terms? It felt terrifying to put it all out there. But she needed to try. Her mother stood stunned, caught between her anger and the clarity unraveling in front of her. It's not that simple, Zoe, she stated weakly. Tradition matters. Responsibility matters. Articulating emotions against our family ideals isn't natural. But it doesn't have to be painful, Zoe replied, the fire in her heart burning brighter. The only thing painful is being caged in silence. We're all struggling, Mom. Let us consider a new way of loving instead of clinging to old definitions. Let us start by being honest with one another. A long silence stretched over the crowd, the weight of her words hanging like fragile glass. One brave voice, then another, began to resonate with the hope surrounding them. She's right, one guest called out softly. Then others joined in, creating a rising tide of support. Turning back to her parents, Zoe felt a hint of warmth start to pierce the walls around her mother's heart. We can't build a legacy on something false, Rachel added, stepping forward beside Zoe. Let us reshape our values together, not around who we think we should be but around who we truly are. As laughter and whispers melded into a chorus of support, Zoe's heart thrummed with anticipation. She could see the struggle in her mother's eyes wavering as the truth battled with years of expectations. Zoe's breath caught as the final silence broke. Okay, her mother's words were barely audible but filled with sincerity. Let us try. I don't know where this journey takes us, but we'll navigate it together. Cheers erupted from the crowd, pure joy bubbling like a spring breaking through ice. And in that precious moment, something transformative sparked in the air. The chains of expectation started to crumble around them, and as the sun dipped below the horizon, hope fluttered instead. Together, they moved forward into a new beginning, driven by the love they discovered within themselves. Not just for Zoe alone, but for the entire family, multifaceted, unique, and finally embracing the beautiful messiness of being together. With the wedding in the rearview, Jamie stood beside Ethan, positivity radiating through her. We did it, she breathed, feeling the warmth of victory wash over them. We really did, Ethan beamed. And this is only the start. As the evening darkened, the energy of their new beginning hovered, bright like stars igniting in the night sky. It was indeed a celebration not just of tradition, but of true connection, strength, and the beauty of love in all its forms. This was their moment. And so, dear friends, this is your moment too. You need to subscribe now to the channel. Don't wait not even one more second to help us grow and share these powerful transformations. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread this message of hope. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this heartwarming ending. What did it spark in you? And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this kind of heartfelt change and embrace the beautiful chaos of life. Your support means everything,